All right, guys. So today we are going to be talking about the geography of Europe. Okay, and this is going to kind of help you later on with a map project that we're going to do. So we're going to look at the geography and kind of how it impacts, trade and things like that. Okay, so we see Europe here, right? And Europe is obviously pretty big. Okay, we see the Atlantic Ocean over on the left-hand side. We see the Mediterranean Sea, the Black Sea, the North Sea, all of that. Okay, now what this means is that Europe is going to use the sea to help with trade. Okay, they're really going to rely on trade coming in from the seas, like from other countries, to help be able to get trade around and that kind of thing, so that they don't have to carry things on land as much. Okay. So we see three different kinds of regions. Okay, we have Western Europe, we have Eastern Europe, and we have Northern Europe. Okay, so that's kind of how Europe is broken up, kind of like when we were talking about World War II. We were talking about Western Europe and Eastern Europe. Okay, now this is where you're going to start taking some notes. Okay, so the Rhine River. Okay, it's going to be the longest river in Germany, and it's an important waterway for trade. Okay, so again, a lot of Europe is going to use water for trading. Okay, it begins in Switzerland, winds all the way through Germany, goes to France, Luxembourg, and then the Netherlands. Okay, I'm going to show you a picture on a map. Okay, so we see how up at the top it goes. We have the Netherlands, right? It goes all the way down through Germany, kind of goes through France there, and then we have Switzerland. Okay, so the Rhine River is going to be really important because people are going to use that English Channel up at the top left in the North Sea, and then they're going to go on the Rhine River all the way down, right? It makes it so much easier to use waterways than to just travel and trade things through land. Okay, now the Danube River. Okay, it's going to be the second longest river, or largest river in Europe. Okay, the Volga is going to be the first. Okay, and it flows through 12 countries. Okay, and those countries are Germany, Austria, Slovakia, Hungary, Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Slovenia, Bulgaria, Romania, and the Ukraine. Okay, it's going to be 1,770 miles long, and it plays a vital role in the development of Central Europe, okay, such as trade and cultural diffusion. Okay, so you always need to know that these waterways are really going to help with trade, right? So we see this river in the blue, the dark blue, okay, that's the Danube River. So it's going to go all the way through Germany, Austria, Hungary, Croatia, Bosnia, okay, Yugoslavia. See, so it's going to really help that trade for that country because it's going to take in things from the Black Sea on the right-hand side all the way into Europe. Okay, so make sure that you know that trade is really going to be affected by the waterways. Okay, now the English Channel. Okay, it's a small body of water that separates England from France. Okay, so it separates the United Kingdom from France. It's 350 miles long, and in the past, it's going to be used as a good system for defense for England, right? Because it's going to be a natural barrier of water, because it's going to protect them from anyone coming in. It's harder to invade through water. Okay, so think of World War II. Remember when France was captured? This English Channel is going to be kind of a buffer so that they don't also go to the United Kingdom. So it's an important waterway for trade. Basically, if it's talking about water in Europe, it's going to be talking about how it is a good source for trade. Okay, so we see this English Channel, right? It separates France, which is down here, this kind of pinkish color, and then the United Kingdom, which is green. Okay, so it's a protective barrier. It's a way for trade. So the English Channel is just an important part of knowing about Europe. Now, is Europe a peninsula of peninsulas, or is it a peninsula of Asia? Okay, now what it means by a peninsula of peninsulas. If we look at this, right, Europe is in that circle. Okay, it is a ton of different peninsulas, which remember are lands that are surrounded by water on three ways, okay, or three sides, sorry. So is Europe part of Asia? Is it just a peninsula off of Asia? Or is it just a ton of different peninsulas together? That's kind of a question that people ask. All right, guys, so we have a couple of northern peninsulas. Okay, we have the Jutland Peninsula, which is it's by the North Sea and the Baltic. Okay, and then we have the Scandinavian Peninsula. Okay, so that's going to be Sweden and Norway. Okay, so we have the Scandinavian Peninsula up here. Okay, now we're going to have a couple of southern peninsulas as well. Okay, we have the Iberian Peninsula, and then the Italian Peninsula, because that's going to be Italy. And we have the Balkan Peninsula, which is by the Balkans. And then we have the Anatolian Peninsula. Okay, so we have those northern ones, and we have the southern peninsulas. Okay, we have the Crimean Peninsula. Okay, so look at all of these different places. Okay, we have a ton of different peninsulas. Okay, so like I said, we have the Scandinavian Peninsula up on top. We have the Jutland Peninsula, the Iberian Peninsula, the Italian Peninsula, the Balkan Peninsula, the Anatolian Peninsula, and the Crimean Peninsula. I've said peninsula so many times that it doesn't even sound right anymore. Okay, now a couple peninsulas that we're going to talk about specifically. Okay, one of them is going to be the Iberian Peninsula. Okay, so the Pyrenees, which are mountains, are going to form the northern border. Okay, so the top part of the Iberian Peninsula is going to be bordered by the Pyrenees Mountains. Okay, it's going to be the second largest peninsula in Europe, and it includes the countries of Spain and Portugal. Okay, so Portugal is going to be that littler piece, and Spain is going to be the bigger piece. Okay. Okay, next we're going to have the Scandinavian Peninsula. Okay, which again is up at the top part. Okay, and the Scandinavian Peninsula, okay, it's going to be the largest peninsula in Europe. It's going to be 1,150 miles long, and it consists of Norway, Sweden, and the northern region of Finland. And this region is going to be rich in timber and iron and copper, okay, which is good because we're going to be able to trade those on the Atlantic Ocean, the Norwegian Sea, the Gulf, the Baltic Sea. Okay, so all of those, timber and iron and copper are going to be traded. Okay, so we see that Scandinavian Peninsula, right? We see that little picture of Norway and Sweden. Okay, now talking about some waterways. Okay, we're going to talk about the Mediterranean Sea. Okay, so it's an important route for trade and cultural exchange, and it's the crossroads for three continents. Okay, so we see, I'll show you a picture in just a second, that it is going to be in between Europe, Africa, and Asia. And it's going to cover an area of 965,000 square miles. So this is going to be a huge sea, okay? And the name means in the middle of the earth, which surrounded by land. And we know that it's surrounded by Europe, Africa, and Asia. Okay, so here is that little picture, right? We see Europe up at the top, Africa down below, and Asia to the right. And then we have the Mediterranean Sea just kind of chilling right in the middle of that. Okay, now, some landforms. Okay, the first one is going to be the Alps. Okay, it's going to be located in Austria, France, Germany, Switzerland, Italy, Slovenia, and Liechtenstein. Sorry, that's a hard word for me. Okay, and it's going to be a major tourist destination. And it's going to extend for about 700 miles. So the Alps are going to be kind of another natural barrier. Okay, Mount Blanc in the Alps is going to be the highest mountain in the Alps, which is 15,771 feet. So obviously that's going to be pretty high up there. Okay, we have a pretty picture from those Alps and another pretty picture. Just kind of showing you the life of the Alps, right? See how tall they are, kind of people living down below. This water is going to come from melting snow and things. Okay, now the Pyrenees Mountains. They're going to form a natural border between France and Spain. Okay, remember France and Spain, or no, I'm sorry. Remember that natural borders are going to be good for countries because it's going to keep other countries and other invaders out. Okay, the Pyrenees Mountains are going to extend for about 270 miles. So again, they're pretty long. And we see this little map. We see Spain and we see France. We see those Pyrenees Mountains kind of right in between them. Okay, now the Ural Mountains. Okay, they're going to be considered the natural boundary between Europe and Asia. Okay, so that's going to be how Europe and Asia are going to be kind of like physically split. It divides Russia. Okay, so 1/4 is in Europe and 3/4 is in Asia. Okay, and it's going to be 1,500 miles long. Okay, so it's going to be a very long mountain chain. And it's going to be among the world's oldest mountain ranges. And huge deposits of gold, nickel, silver, platinum, coal, iron, and other minerals are also going to be found in these mountain ranges. Okay, so we see that the Ural Mountains are going to be the Great Divide, okay, and it's going to divide the European and Asian sections of Russia, okay, so it's that natural physical boundary. Okay, now onto the European plain. Okay, it's going to be the largest mountain-free landform in Europe. Okay, so none of this area is going to have mountains in it. It is just going to be a plain. It's just very flat. Okay, it's going to stretch from the Pyrenees Mountains all the way to the west with the Ural Mountains in the east. Okay, and it's going to extend 2,000 miles. Okay, so this is going to be a very flat area between the Pyrenees and the Ural Mountains. It's going to be 2,000 miles, and it's going to be a very great place for agriculture. Okay, it's a successful agricultural area. So that means people are going to be able to plant and things like that in this area. Okay, so we see that this area is very flat and that it is going to be a good place for people to do agriculture. Okay, and we see on this actual map that this is where the European plain is going to be. Okay, so you can see it on the countries. Okay, make sure all of this is in your notes, and I hope you have a wonderful day.